Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. And let everybody join up here and we'll get started. As we're getting it rolling, where's everybody from? Let's get the waterfall going. Love to see where everybody's from. Drop it in the chat. What have we got? I'll start off Vancouver. Oh, Greg from Toronto, another fellow Canadian. Seattle, just south of me. Prague. Oh, Europe's in the house. A little further south in Bend, Oregon, to Bend, Oregon, San Francisco. We got West Coast representation. Oh, there we go. Okay, Kansas City. More West Coast. Kansas, Virginia. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Let's dig in here. So this is kind of a take two. And we had I'd say a technical glitch last week. But really that technical glitch is we didn't have Connor with us, who's our professional record button hitter. And we forgot to record it. And so for everybody that can't make it to these, we post a recording. So we decided, hey, let's do this again. And Connor's back. Woo! We appreciate you, Connor. And we are recording, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay, good. 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 That would be pretty bad if we missed it again this time. So, and in fact, I was looking forward to doing this again, because I think it's such an interesting message for, I know so many people in our audience have incredible messages that they want to share. And, it's a little bit about me. I spent the first time I spoke to an audience was back in 2003. So I would have been young, 25. I think I was 24. It was the first time I spoke, and it was a revelation for me because I recognized that it was the fastest way to connect and share my message with a lot of people all at once. Now, I will tell you, I was terrified. I don't think I slept for 3 days before that. But it was such an incredible experience to see what you can accomplish when you can capture the attention of a large audience. And so that sort of began a journey for me. And over the last 25-ish years, had the opportunity to speak, really in the entrepreneurship space, but speak all over the world, from audiences to 50 to 6,000 people, and it's been amazing. And through that journey, though, I've tried to really refine the craft of creating these engaging talks to be able to really connect with an audience, and even from a business perspective, to engage with that audience, to help them, work with me in other fashions after that talk. So I've gone out and I have spent, oh my goodness, probably over $100,000 in my entire career with different speaking coaches, attending different speaking events. I even laugh because I've hired acting coaches. I mean, talk about authenticity, right? No, that's not authenticity. And so earlier this year, I was introduced to our guest today, that completely reframed speaking for me. And I'm excited to dive into what she has brought to the world of speaking over the last many, many decades. Oh, Connor, are you just messing with me here? I heard the recording stop. The record. Okay. All right, we're good. We're good. And so I was connected with this incredible individual, and in fact, I got to spend the last week with her. So Gail and I have been spending a lot of time together. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to someone who's become my mentor at 80 years young, and is still going strong, has this infinite amount of energy, and has taught more people how to speak authentically not about structures, not about closing structures and tactics and strategies, but how to show up authentically and connect with an audience in a way that I had never done before. And it just felt right. It felt good. And I mean, I could go through the list. You know what? Here, I'll share an example. When I first met Gail, I was sort of probing, and she's very uh, humble about the people that she has taught. But it really hit me when she goes, "Oh yeah," she asked me where I was from. I said Vancouver. She said, "Oh, I was in Vancouver a couple years ago, coaching the mayor of Vancouver on speaking." I was like, "What? How does that happen?" So she's worked with countless thought leaders around the world. She's written a best-selling book, Transformational Speaking, and yeah, she's going to talk to us today about uncovering our authentic voice. And so, without further ado, Gail, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek. It's been so much fun to work with you and have you find a new way because when Fast Company said this is about transforming your relationship to your voice via the deepest stirrings of your soul, that's what it's about, finding out who we've become in this life journey and what wants to be said through us now. We can get so strategic about what works that actually, when you said it's not strategic, I think the best strategy we have is to be real, because then we're going to line up like a barcode with the people we can influence, that we can play with, that we can build our energy for something we really care about in the world. And if we're all about structure and content and information, we miss the amazing gifts that we individually bring that can help us really connect with an audience, the right audience for ourselves. People think we have to reach everyone. No, but we need to reach the people where we can really play together. And that's
Yeah.
the joy of it.
And one of the things I just want to highlight at the beginning of this, I mean, we live in this world where AI is on the rise, obviously. It's infiltrating everything. And I think with the rise of AI, what we're going to talk about here is even more relevant and important. I mean, literally just the other day, I was spinning up an AI avatar of myself. Carrie's got an AI avatar of herself. We're real, just so you know, this isn't AI. Um, but I think we're stepping into an economy where authenticity, vulnerability, real human connection and experience is about to elevate in value. And if you want to truly connect with audiences, whether you're a thought leader, a coach, anything like that, you need to, I think, really lean into this new way. Because here's the thing, in terms of tactics and closing structures and all of that stuff, I can fire up an AI and I can have it follow a script and nail it. But in terms of authentically showing up, being vulnerable, getting that connection, the stuff that I think Gail's going to talk about here today, AI is never going to do that.
It reminds me of the David White poem, Loaves and Fishes. He says this is not the age of information. This is not the age of information. Turn off your radio and your television and your blurred screens. These are the days of loaves and fishes. People are hungry, and
Mm,
one good word is bread for 1,000. So, what's that real sense of a person that we can relate to as a human being, where we're sharing our story, our struggles, our
mhm,
triumphs? From a place of truth as opposed to strategy. And I call that the home zone. When I'm teaching, it's like, how do we get home? How are we connected internally? And
mhm,
as you know, I say never speak unless you can feel your feet under you,
mhm.
because we don't want it to be a head trip of information that we can get anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. And that was a revelation for me. I mean, I've spent the last 25 years up here and, and just bringing it to here and grounding yourself. It was such a game changer for me. Now, before we get into this though, Gail, I mean, you've been in this speaking world now for 40 years. Give us your story. How did this happen?
Well, the highlights, because if I went over the whole thing, we'd be here for hours. But like most of us in your first speech, I was terrified. I'm an introvert. It was very hard. My first talk was I did a women's career convention in Nashville, Tennessee in 1979. And my first talk was to 4,000 women who
Mm,
showed up for this, talk about speaking to what was needed at the time. And I I enjoyed it, but I was scared. And then I decided to get training.
mm.
And the training probably, it reined me in a little. I can be out there, but oh my gosh, it just got me feeling robotic instead of real. And I realized the more training I got, the harder it was to connect with people. When you're vulnerable and unexpected and saying, whoa, this is amazing, people feel the energy with you. And if you're trying to fix it up, it sort of deflates what we're capable of doing. But I fell in love with the world of speaking. I was hiring speakers for those women's convention. And ultimately, I was named the Tennessee Small Businessman of the Year, was invited to the White House to receive my award from President Reagan at the time. Back then, I got a telegram saying, I didn't realize it was a big deal till that happened. And people were asking me to speak. And I fell in love with the whole world of speaking and joined the National Speakers Association. Ultimately, I sold my business and moved to Phoenix and was their first full-time CEO and stayed for about 4 years. So I've seen every speaker from every perspective and didn't know I was evaluating it the way I would now. But to really see where I was touched and moved and would make change in my life, or when it was like, when is this thing going to be over?
Mhm.
So it's grown from there. I've grown from there, and I think we're all growing. And we need to bring that growth and development into what we say when we're speaking, because we're all looking for that next place where we can land with some level of confidence
Mhm.
and trust in the crazy world that we're in now. People want to hear something new and real.
So let's talk about new and real. I mean, we focus on techniques and sort of performance skills. And I mean, I guess, when I went through your workshop, there was a process. There is a structure, but most people are missing what you're doing and they're just focusing purely on the techniques, right? So what essential piece are they missing about their sort of their voice transformation? Like what are these people missing right now? How would you define it?
I would not anyone to come into this 4-day experience thinking they know what they're here to say
Mm,
and to work on a speech. They may have a general sense of it, but I feel like it's an opportunity to get out of jet lag, catch up with who we've become, and work with what's alive in the moment. So we start with an indigenous teaching that I learned from my teacher, Angelus Arian, of original medicine. What are the gifts that you and you alone bring to the world that if you don't express them, they're lost to the world for all time? To really name that and claim it, not feel it only as a what a nice concept.
mhm,
And then we work with what's real in the moment, what's alive. We get out of strategy. I coach to the home zone from asking, tell a story that's now, that's enlivening you. Get rid of the strategy. The interesting thing is that when it's alive, it ultimately tends to be part of the strategy because
mhm,
that's where we can bring our greatest gift, not the old news that we've been working with. So my coaching is how we get home,
mhm,
how we really feel our stories as we tell them. There's a lot of strategy now about tell the story. Find the point, tell the story. For me, it's like tell the story and the point will come out of it. And we get to witness that journey for someone and that aha of, oh, that's what I really stand for. So I don't think I've ever worked with anyone in the 4-day immersion who really fully knows what they're here to say, but through the coaching to the home zone. And for me, the home zone is we're feeling it. We're not just thinking it. Our
mhm.
feet are under us. We're connected to whatever guidance, and we surprise ourselves.
Mm,
what comes out of our mouths or our spirits. And we, when we're doing that, Derek, the skills are there. What we tend to do is in most training impose a skill. Well, that doesn't sound good. Let's work on this or that. And it gets more and more inauthentic. And no wonder speaking is scary because we don't get to bring our full selves to it. I
hmm.
love the Gertrude Stein quote where she says, "Beware the double ouch." The first ouch is when you say, well, this is what they want, and I will show up with what they want. The second ouch is when they find out the truth and reject you anyway. So she says, go for the one ouch. It's much less painful. We want to find our people. We want to build community. We want to make a difference. And it has to be from our truth embodied, or there's no way we can sustain it in the world.
Yeah, and what I love about this, I mean, a lot of the, and I'll be just dead honest, a lot of the speaker training I went to was more about manipulation,
Yeah. Selling from the platform. Look
selling
for
from
their
the
pain
platform.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, and manipulate psychological just abuse in many ways, to force an outcome. And I really love what the way you teach because I mean, let's go into the world of NLP, and I'm not going to name names because I could name names and everybody go, "Yep, I know that guy." They can get on stage and they can make an audience do incredible, incredible things. Like you're just like, "What is going on here?" Because they're using all these manipulative NLP tactics and stuff like that. But the other thing that I've witnessed is they're not attracting the right people. And they end up attracting people to their businesses, to their work that are not congruent in many cases, or they don't stick.
It
And
makes it hard. I mean, we
yeah,
want businesses and people in our lives that lighten us up and build our vibration. We don't want it to be hard work where we're always trying to figure things out because
hmm,
there's such a capacity of co-creation when we're with the right people.
hmm,
So for me, it's like forget who you think your audience is. We're going to keep working that home zone. We're going to find a voice you've silenced that brings you alive because we don't want everything to be monotonous or in one voice.
yeah,
Um, and by the end of the third day, we have done enough exploration and expansion
hmm,
to say, if you had 1 minute to speak, what would you say? How concise can you make it?
yeah,
Because when someone is listening to you from a speaking platform or a Zoom call or anything else, we're distracted. So
hmm,
we once we have that 1 minute, then we find every way possible to reinforce it with our own story, with examples, by saying it, by singing it, whatever we do to enliven it, because we want people to remember that.
hmm,
And then we can have our call to action, how we want them to play with us. And then one of the things I'm always including now, I still don't think it's landing fully, but what's the new story? If someone accepted the call to action I'm putting out, what would our world look like? Because I think we're all looking for a bigger story now that we can embrace and be part of to bring real transformation to our planet.
mm, yeah, 100%.
So we do a talk. By the end of that third day, you have
Yeah,
your core message, you know your medicine, you know your stories, you're in your home zone. Then we structure it, but we don't script it. Because when we're in a script, we are still yesterday's news and we're not engaging with the audience. When I wrote the book, Transformational Speaking, the hardest part of it was structuring it because I didn't want to do technique.
yeah,
So I started with the heart of speaking, our medicine, who we are, what we care about, then the art, and then the energetics, because we may think we have a talk that works, but every audience has a different energy. And if we can't attune to that, then we miss an opportunity to flow with what's there. And if we're in a script, we're kind of stuck. If the
hmm,
time constraints change, if they got to take us off the platform sooner, people don't people don't know what we forgot. I did want to say that. Oh, I wish I'd said that. Oh, I forgot that. But
Yeah,
people don't know
yeah,
what we forgot if we're connected and they're with us. So
yeah.
it's a very different experience of speaking. And it removes the fear
Yes.
because we're into what's the value I have to bring here, not how do I look to them and how am I doing. We sort of fall in love with ourselves through the transformational speaking process, even seeing yourself on video after I coach you each time. And the first
Mhm.
time, admittedly, it's kind of shocking. And then we get into, oh, that's energetically working. And I can feel why people are attracted and who I'm going to attract. So it's a whole different approach. It's inside out rather than imposing more and more layers of performance.
Yeah, yeah, I mean that was such a transformation for me just coming in there and I came in there with a story. I came in there with what I thought I was going to do. And I mean you said, a lot of people don't have their story when they arrive. I would argue that most people think they know what their
Oh yeah,
story is
yeah,
when
yeah.
they arrive, and then you pull the rug out from under them, and by the end of the day, you're like, "Ah, damn, thought I had that figured out." But you leave in such a more authentic place, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to step up authentically in front of an audience and not be worried about my line, not be worried about, I missed this thing or that thing, but to be able to speak authentically and have a structure that you can follow, and then and then adjust as needed, as you
Mhm.
said.
Yeah, because
Um,
when we have that storyboard, which is our key points, flying in formation, our mind has done the work
yeah.
to figure out where we think we're going. But in the last day of the class, it's only 6 people. Everyone comes in with a new talk, and I call it a rough draft in front of your new best friends. Because
Mm-hmm.
by then we're in a community and we're all pushing that edge of what we think we're capable of. And what I've noticed is even though you can hang up the storyboard and glance at it, most people don't because the mind has done the work of saying, okay, this is how I'm going to start. These are the key stories,
Yeah.
all in support of the point, my call to action, my closing. So we've done that part, and then we can get back into the home zone and see what's here now. And invariably it works. When
So,
people get too stuck with a script, it falls apart.
100%. 100%. Honestly, I don't think that's why I don't think I could ever do a TED Talk because I don't think I could ever memorize a 7-minute speech.
Well, I had someone this week who wanted to hire me for a TED Talk
Uh-huh.
that she's giving this week. I couldn't work with her initially because we've been busy the last week.
Yes. Yes, we have.
And then she said, do you think it would be valuable? And I said, no. If you're
Mhm.
not willing to change any of the words and relive it as you tell it, which will shift things each time,
Yeah.
I don't think you should be investing in a session with me. And so I said, here's the 2 things I will tell you if you have a script. Get in your body, feel your feet, call in all levels of unseen support. Be there in service.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And what was the other thing I told her? Oh, relive the thing. As you're
Mm.
saying it, relive it. Feel the emotions of it as you speak it. Even if it's a script, it'll be better. And she wrote
Mhm.
and said, yeah, thank you. And I
Yeah.
want to come to your class next. So it's like this is a whole different way. But for people who have an inner life, and that's why we have a application process, we
Hmm.
if you decide you're interested in this, you will apply through the MEA website. I get the application. We get on the phone. No pressure. We just want to make sure we're a fit, that you
Mm.
feel like you're in the right place and that I feel I can serve you. Because this work has been by referral for the last 10 years, I think. And
Hmm.
we want the right people in the room to really explore this, have fun with it, and bring it.
Yeah. So, okay, so there's two terms that you use a lot, and I want to dive in a little bit more so people truly understand sort of the heart of how you do this. And one is home zone, the other is original medicine. And so and I know these are terms you use constantly after the workshop. I know exactly what you mean by them, but let's dig into those a little bit for this group so they can understand it and maybe start applying it.
So I want you to know your gift. And your original medicine isn't a resume like all the things I can do. It's something that says to you when I remind myself of this is who I am, when I show up at my best, when I'm scared, I can stand on that foundation. We work with a partner to have a reflection of that and get feedback. And people's medicine names are as unusual as they are. Sometimes it comes from a tattoo. You know, it can
Yeah.
be you have selected something that really is an image that represents who you are.
Hmm.
It can be, I mean, I remember one woman working this whole thing, and then while she was reporting back on her medicine, she pulled up her shirt. I'm trying to remember what her name was, something about the cosmic something or other. And she had this full tattoo on her back with a woman entranced by the stars. But it reminded her of her truth and the energy she wants to bring and the gift that she brings. Home zone is that feeling within ourselves that I'm not making it up. I'm feeling it as I go. I can trust what comes through me.
Hmm.
The other piece is our personal story, not told strategically, but to really understand that story is how people remember. There's Native American wisdom that says, tell me a fact and I'll listen, tell me a truth and I'll learn, but tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever. But that story has to be told from the home zone or it's forgettable. It's just another strategic check mark in the top.
Hmm.
So the way we tell our stories is a big part of it, not simply the power of story, but really feeling it as we go.
Yeah, and that's such a huge revelation. You know, it's funny. I think I asked you this, maybe it was last week, and your comment to me kind of went, "Oh yeah." I used to go and do speaking tours, and I would do, over 15 days, I would do 10 one-day events. And when I was in Asia,
Mm.
right, I would just stack them up. And I asked you, I'm like, how do you stay authentic and in that zone when you're doing the same thing over and over and over? And your response was, well, I've never done the same speech twice. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, fair.
Because it's the new energy, the energy of the group,
Yeah.
the new discoveries that come in when we're home surprise
Mm-hmm.
and delight us. And
Mm-hmm.
I've had details of a story come through, and I'm thinking, well, that's interesting. I never said that before. And someone in the audience will say, that's exactly what I needed to hear. So it's
Mm-hmm.
this enormous trust. I think as we discovered last week in this new program, we want to play with this greater intelligence, but it wants to play with us too. And it
Yeah.
serves us and comes through at the right time to
Mm-hmm.
really speak to that particular audience in a way that they can hear. You know,
Yeah.
actually, as I talk about it, it's just so much fun. You know, it's so much fun to be in this field of discovery together and to celebrate the new ideas and concepts that come through us when we're really opening to that greater field.
Yeah, and and that was a big reframe for me. I mean, I used to, again, be up in my brain, walk into the room and go, and I would be like, okay, how am I going to accomplish my goal and strategically, do this, this, and this, but reframing it to this is fun. We're playing together.
Yeah,
Was just such a beautiful reframe that makes the experience so much more enjoyable, I think,
I think we laughed so
for
much
me.
in your class.
Yeah, totally. And for the audience, it's
Yeah.
just so much better. But you're still to that point, you're also still generating the outcome that you're
Yeah.
looking for.
From a
Yeah.
different place within us. It's
Hmm.
more open to discovery, it's lighter, and the vibration of it is really strong and can go out to the group more easily.
Yeah, 100%. So you talk about audience energy and attuning to that. Can you give some examples of how that plays out for you? Because I mean,
Well,
anybody
first
that's
of
done
all, I
talks or
think, you know, there's this thing about wanting to get hired, and then it's like, where should we be? And
hmm
I think all of us have, we can do the anatomy of a bomb and realize we were in the wrong place, that we're not the, it was, we got a gig, but oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
yeah.
So, we have enough of that to realize unless it's aligned. Now, it's not, here's the thing that I think is really interesting, Derek. People don't know what they want because our minds only show us what we've had and we start trying to figure that out. But there's something beyond what we've already seen that it's our job as speakers to bring people into that other possibility. So I always say, meet them where they are. You got to know your audience, but then you got to stretch the hell out of them with
hmm
this new possibility that you bring in through your story, through your challenge to them, and your own courage in your life to have expressed it. So you can have an audience, if you're in the Midwest, they could look like they don't like you at all because they haven't told their face that they like you. And, but then ultimately they say that was the best thing I ever heard. So I don't think you have to
Yeah.
be connected energetically to your source and trust yourself enough to prevail,
hmm
even when it doesn't look like it's working. But I think one thing we can do if is to invite someone up on the stage to be part of what we're doing. But you don't go in cold to an audience. If you don't know your group, you ask for a few people to interview. You create some allies first. So
mm
in professional speaking, we really know the importance of that. I see my friend Greg Brown on the call, who's a professional speaker. Hey, Greg, he has, he's really well positioned in this management and leadership space. But I doubt if he ever gives the same talk twice. And he knows how to show up in a way that it works and
mm.
create and adjust. And I think that's the tuning in that we do, but we never get it if we're here like, Derek, you forgot to ask me, oh, about my work with Angelus Aaron. It's like we're not going to a script. We are being with the energy, and it allows what comes through us to have a better chance of landing.
Yes, and you're right. I did forget to ask you about Andy there.
Because
But
we
I was
gave
having
up our
fun going down
script.
the rabbit holes.
And
Remember, you told me not to use a script, so here we are. This is on you.
I just want to say, because I know we're going to do some Q&A, working with you was such a delight
Mm.
because you were the only man with 5 women in the group. I think you felt pretty safe because there was an executive from Amazon and an executive from Nike who had
Mhm.
abandoned their corporate roles and were doing their own work. But we also, and someone who was working in the Middle East, Beth,
Mhm.
and then we had a channel,
Huh.
which was really weird for you. But boy, did she nail it by the end, and it's like,
Yep.
whoa, this stuff is real. So, yeah, it's like your experience in that was so beautiful to witness because you gave up 20 years of an old way of doing it. I didn't know what you'd do with what you were getting. But you came in and started with a story that brought us all to tears. It was real,
Mhm.
it was palpable, and it held your message in a way an entire book or manuscript never could. You brought us right home
Mhm.
to where you were with your grandmother's passing,
Mhm.
your 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 father, your son
Mhm.
being the pallbearers at her funeral, introducing us to her, dying at 98, as I recall,
Mhm.
and in her amazing life, and then saying, I wish I could tell you that last decade had been a good one. And
Mhm.
because your whole message in this longevity space that you're creating with MEA is how is this last decade one that is alive and amazing? And in 5 minutes, we got it.
Hmm.
There's no words you could have done that could have replaced that story that took us so fully into our hearts and to see who you were so we could trust you. And
Yeah.
that's it. When they hear the story, they're asking, can I trust this person?
Hmm.
Am I going to follow them with what they're suggesting or promoting? And if it's not from a place of love and service, I think we have every right to be suspicious in this whacked out world that we're in.
Yeah. 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 And it's funny. Had I started out, I would have pre-Gail. So I have my life speaking career pre-Gail and post-Gail. My pre-Gail speaking career, I would have started that talk with, stats and figures and, you know, and and gone straight, to the logical brain and tried to here's the reality of longevity in the last decade and bang, 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 bang. And that wasn't it.
But you captured us and then you brought in the
Yeah.
data that someone who's
Exactly.
really evaluating
Yeah.
it from a left brain perspective. But you
Hmm.
captured us with the story.
Yeah.
And so to orchestrate that, we work on how you structure it, but only after we get to the heart of the story and your home zone and your medicine. So
Yeah.
you do it in your way so it's memorable.
Hmm. It's memorable and it's authentic,
Yeah.
and you have a gift for being able to pull that out of people.
And
Um,
what I'm doing in those 4 days is I'm watching for where that door wants to open. I'm
mhm.
listening, I'm tracking for where's my way in with you, for you to let something out that maybe you haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's the magic of it, and that's my gift to really watch for that and then say, Danielle Laporte said she loves watching me do it because then I say rewind and you go
Hmm.
back and of course, that's the thing, and that's the whole reason you're on the planet. But it's like
Hmm.
in all the words that we say, what is the thing that's
Hmm.
ours to bring to the world? And it's very original and unique.
Hmm. So, did you want to talk about Angela's Arian?
Oh, my years of study with Angie have shaped so much who I am.
Yeah.
She was a cultural anthropologist. She passed 10 years ago, but she studied nature-based cultures around the world and brought that wisdom to us in those years I was with her. She was also a friend, an
Hmm.
investor in one of my harebrained schemes. I mean, we had a beautiful relationship. But that kind of work is about stripping away to what's real rather than adding one more thing. How
Hmm.
do we listen in a greater way to what wants to come through without the things that get in the way of
Hmm.
that pure guidance that's possible?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, actually, what I'd love to do here in just a second, I'm going to open it up to a Q&A. If you guys have any questions for Gail, just raise your hand, hit the little react button at the bottom of Zoom, and there's a little hand button, it'll pop up, and then I'll call on you and you can unmute yourself. And yeah, and I think we've actually got a few of your past students,
We
including
do,
myself
but one
here.
thing I would love for you to speak to before we go there, Derek, is
Yep,
why this is different for MEA, because many of our
absolutely.
MEA audience come in, there's a lot of MEA curriculum that's very foundational, and this doesn't have that.
Yeah, so
Um,
So look, this is a bit of a different beast for MEA, and this is a little bit of my hey, okay, here it is. Gail was going to retire, and
I was
and
going to write.
she was gonna write, and when I did the last workshop with her, which was supposed to be one of her last workshops, I had a bit of an ulterior motive by the end of it. I'm like, okay, we got to get her to continue this work. How can we make MEA her home and take the side of the business that she doesn't want to deal with off and let her focus on her gift? And so it was funny at the end of that workshop. I was like, "Hey, who wants to go see the ranch?" We were in Santa Fe. We were at a hotel in Santa Fe, and so I loaded the whole cohort in, and I took them out to the ranch. My ulterior motive was to, really, get people out to the ranch and say, hey, look, we could do this here. And Gail, being the sport she is, she came along and she's been to MEA workshops as well. And so after that, the conversation continued. And how do we make MEA her home? But this is a little bit different. This isn't a typical MEA workshop. This is Gail's transformational speaking that's being run at the MEA campus now, and we're helping her continue this on. And so it is a full 4 days in class with Gail, but it's not a full, typical MEA that could be 20 to 30 people in the classroom. It's limited to 6 people. And it is with Gail. It's not MEA programming. This is purely her transformational speaking program. Although you might get out to play with the horses, and you get to eat all of our amazing food as well. So there is that. So it's that side of MEA still. And as Gail said before, it's not something that you can just register for. Gail wants to talk to you first. So there is an application process. You just fill that out, and then you and Gail can have a chat about that. And if you're the right fit, then away we go. So a little bit of a different beast, but it's something I'm super grateful to be able to help Gail carry on this work, because I think we're at a time where the world needs it, not just with the rise of AI, but we need more people that are out there spreading, their words from an authentic human place that just is really lacking in the world at the moment. So yes, that's how this workshop works. MEA is now Gail's new home, and yay. And she's working on other stuff too, and she's a legend. Okay, I just spent the last week with her where she exhausted Carrie and I. We started at 7 in the morning and went till 9:30 at night. And Gail, you're a legend at 80 to be able to not only just you're creating new, that is an aspiration. That's where I want to be. So um I am
Well,
so
when you're in a home zone and it's coming through, it's not quite as exhausting, but I did sleep for a day afterwards.
fair. So I slept for 2. So um, you're still winning. All right, Katie, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes,
loud and
hi,
clear.
Katie.
So I don't know why I'm on this call. I was just drawn to it. I am not a writer. I'm not a public speaker. But what's come to me listening to you is how much I would love to be at an MEA workshop to in another capacity to get to know myself. So lifelong learner, I'm always, what do I stand for? Who am I? And it's come up more and more in the last couple of years. I'm 69. I know myself well, and then there's parts I don't know. I want to be in your workshop to define that. And so I would love for you to consider, I don't want to be there with Derek and people from Apple and Google who are fine tuning their speeches,
Mhm.
but I would love to get up and be able to speak for 5 minutes on how I've come to know myself. So your home zone and your original medicine, I'm really drawn to. So I would love for you to do a workshop for me.
Well, the workshop is for you, Katie. In Derek's class, there was a woman who husband had died a year ago, and she didn't come for any need to
Mhm.
go out in a public place, but to explore who she'd become through her life journey, her losses, and what's alive now that I really, want to express in the world. So I've had a
Yes.
number of many people, there's usually a few in every class, who are in this deep personal place to, I've got to catch up now.
Mhm.
I need a space where it's really safe to explore this. And I think part of the reason it works is you're up in front of a group saying it as you're discovering it. So it becomes embodied rather than practiced.
Yeah.
And then when I coach you and I'm going with you, whatever your intention is, every day I'm checking in to say, what's your breakthrough today? Because
Mm.
I'm going to coach you in a whole different way than I would a professional speaker, because your intention for being there is different. But what I love about it is the mix of people who come. and how much we learn from each other, no matter whether they're speaking professionals or the self-discovery. We talk about the speaking professionals because it's an investment, with 6 people at MEA for 5 nights. Um, so it's like making an investment in yourself, but I don't think there's
Mhm.
any bigger investment than we can get than really knowing who we've become so we can show up in the world in a way that feels real to us and that matters to those whose lives we touch. So I'd love to get on a call and talk with you about it, but it feels like it could be a beautiful fit.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Katie. A couple of questions in the chat here. Naomi said, what is the application deadline for the June event? With only 6 spots available, what kind of individuals are you seeking?
I think we actually have 3 of my clients who are looking at June. So it's not about an application deadline. It's about getting the right energy, curating a group that I feel is really going to be dynamic together. So the earlier you get in and apply, yeah, because they're limited, but we'll keep adding them. We just put 2 on the schedule to get started. Um, So Jane Chen, Jane, hi. I'm seeing that question because it's the unseen realms. Nice to meet you. I'm glad
Nice
you
to meet
emailed and
you.
here
I'm
you
the one,
are.
by the way, who's doing the TED Talk that Gail gave
Yes, I know
us
you
advice.
are. So
So
thanks for coming. I mean, for me, it's like, what's our support team in the unseen world?
Mm.
It could be your relationship with God. It could be animal allies. It could be nature, but feel everything that's available to us that can't be seen, but is of substance to you so
Hmm.
that this isn't about you. One of my most intriguing clients was Elizabeth Lindsay, who is the first woman. I'm thinking when I look at you, I see Elizabeth.
I know her. We just did a
Oh,
talk together.
yes, she's so she was doing the main stage at Bioneers years ago, and she was terrified. And her message was, how do you see in the dark? What she learned from her mentor, Mao, who was the last living navigator by the stars, and he had just died. And she was so scared, and it was this huge stage. And I said, why don't you enter in the dark, get your feet under you, and then they can start bringing up the lights. And she still was terrified. And she said, how do I do it? And I said, you call on the ancestors who've sent you to do this work. She's the first woman National Geographic explorer, and she's Hawaiian, and the whole thing was her ancestry. And so she just felt herself on that stage, standing in the light of the generations behind her. That's calling on unseen forces for Elizabeth. What is it for you?
I love that. Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
imagine myself being held in the ocean. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I mean, talk about ballast, right? And floating and flowing. So, yeah, whatever it is for you that sustains you in times of terror,
Mm,
because if speaking can be that way, but also remember, as Fritz Perls said, fear is excitement without the breath. So to breathe into your heart, to know that you're there in service. And I read your script and it's a beautiful story, and just fully embody it
mm,
and feel the generosity of your life as you bring it through so that your audience will feel you. I know you're going to do great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
thank
Thank you. I
you.
can't wait to do the immersion.
So good. Anita.
Hi. So I've been doing presentations, and I know that this personal story to bring yourself in, to be authentic, and also to relate to kind of the one that's talking about that particular thing, right? How you're talking about these different audiences that you have. So I'm assuming that your basic content are kind of the points that you want to get across. you've thought about for that particular audience in terms of how to say it. How do you adapt your personal story to be relevant in terms of framing that? Because it might
You don't
make
adapt. You know, it's you know your audience, um, and enough to meet them where they are and how you open. But if you're trying to, your teachings come out of your story. What you have to share comes from your story. And if you're shifting the story, you're not home. You've got to trust that story. So our work together would be about what's the story? You don't, you know, you're going to tell it differently every time because the energy is different. But you're
right,
not
that's what I mean.
strategically changing it. You're feeling
Right,
it as you go. But you got to know the
right,
story that holds what you stand for.
right. I was trying to get down to that kind of lower level, which you
Yeah.
referenced, that it's not that your story particularly changes, but maybe the more authentic or more a way that you want to. I don't know. There's something about speaking it a bit different to different kinds of audiences. I don't know if it's
Mhm.
just your stance or if it's something that you emphasize or if it's like a moment that you tie in to who's there and what they care about. Right. So it's not like your story entirely changes. Right.
Let's call on
Does that
Greg
make
Byrne here, who speaks to many different audiences as a professional. You know, you stand for certain things that you stand for, Greg. And when you're all over the world speaking, how do you adapt it for them, knowing that your story remains very much the same?
Well, I think, thanks for asking. I think one of the things I do is I always look at, I remember that the change that I want the audience to have, which is, they're going to drive it, happens in their mind. So it's not about me. And while I have my story and the content and the takeaways that I want to share, I always start with them and go, what do they need to be, do, know, or have to create change on the planet that's going to be meaningful in their world? And then I create a structure as you've taught and feel what stories align with that and say it in a way that's going to be meaningful. Because I think, the biggest thing I learned from working with you over all these years, and I've had Gail coach me as well as doing the workshop a couple of times, has been, really getting comfortable being in front of a group and not doing a prescribed process that somebody taught me, or listening to some coach that told me to do something silly, or trying to be like another speaker. And my biggest aha moment, Gail, was, Greg, just be you. Just get up and be you. And you know what the weirdest thing is, I do a lot of work in the military and with construction and people that aren't normally my audience from who I am. And one thing I really learned, Gail, from working with you was, and this is true in front of the military, in construction people, in front of, people that are trades, they love me more when I'm more myself, not when I'm trying to be someone else. And they pay me a lot of money to be myself. So I'm like, okay, I'll be myself.
The
That
one
creates,
ouch. You know,
yeah.
some people won't love you, but what the heck? We're not, if everybody loves us, we have edited and rehearsed ourselves to be so vanilla. Who's going to
True.
hire us and pay us a lot of money anyway? Knowing your medicine is about getting out of comparison and competition and
Totally.
fully showing up as yourself.
Well, and that's what I really learned from you was, in the two sessions I did was, and there were diverse speakers. So if there's people here who are just wanting to uncover more about who they are, or they're coaches or entrepreneurs, or not even in the business world, this really helps you. Well, it helped me after having spent thousands of dollars on coaching and speaking and all this crap, spending real good money and time with Gail to really go, people want to know who you are, not who someone else is. And the more you are, the more people will be attracted to you and the more they will want to engage with you. And that's the way I've run my business, Gail, for years, ever since we've worked together. And, as I tell people, they're like, how do you do it? I say, well, I get coaching from Gail, and then I just answer the phone and open my emails and stuff happens because it's about being myself. So thank
Yeah,
you.
I really admire you, Greg, for your willingness to travel all over the way you do. It takes a lot of physical energy and commitment. So thank God you get to be you, because look how exhausting it would be if you were trying to fake it every time.
And I'm just
Yeah,
turning
it's a
60 this
sustainable
year.
career.
I
It's
know I'm just turning 60 and now you're my model for aging. And I've
Mhm.
got just started a PhD and I'm just stepping into the next phase of speaking. So I'm going to go till at least 90 the way you're going.
may it be so. Good to see you, my
Thank
friend.
you.
From Toronto today? Yeah, because I saw your cat.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
She's gone.
We got a couple more questions in the chat here. One is from Sherry. She says, are you saying to write the bones of the idea and review it, but then go free form when you show up to speak?
You know, the structuring and the storyboarding really helps land within you. This is the journey I want to take them on. And I suggest running through it once or twice, but not looking at yourself in the mirror and freaking yourself out and that sort of thing. But for timing and pacing, and then to allow, that's when the energy of the group, that's always going to be different. When you're in self-trust, you're able to create and adjust quite naturally in the moment. And the more you speak, the more it becomes natural. So it's both. It's both.
Good. And next question, is it ever delivered in the UK or Europe?
Well, MEA is here, and I'm here in Santa Fe. You know, I used to travel like we all do when we're building a business. Actually, I went to England last month to do a workshop for Hay House authors at their invitation and to attend a conference that I wanted to go to. So it was beautiful. But I decided about 10 years ago, and this was part of my strategy for aging. It's a lot with me and my class assistant and the camera and, you know, the stuff. It's easier for 6 people to come here than for 2 people to go there. So everything has been close to home. And that's the way I can sustain myself to continue this work.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go to Baja though,
Yeah. Yeah.
someday.
We'll do a Baja. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm down with that. Um, Jane asked, what does it
Oh,
mean?
and let me say, you
Oh,
know, I have clients from the UK all the time that come to Santa Fe,
yep.
authors and speakers and entrepreneurs, because it's a plane trip. You got to give yourself some adjustment time, but I've worked internationally for many years.
Yeah. Well, last week with your new workshop that you're working on, we had the director of Hay House UK fly over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she came
Um,
twice this year to work with me, so it is possible.
yep, 100%. Jane asked, what does it mean to surround yourself with support from unseen realms?
So she came on and we
Oh,
answered that.
you already hit that one. That's correct. Okay. I think we're through this. Uh, I think I'm just scanning through. I think we've got all the questions. On that note, we're at the top of the hour, so this has just worked out perfectly. So before we go, if you want to work with Gail, I think Megumi's dropped the link in the chat there. Just fill out the application, have a chat with Gail. You know, there's a reason I brought this to MEA because it's important work, and I think you know, I honestly, Gail, I'm so grateful for you to have you as one of my wisdom leaders as we, you know, grow MEA and I grow myself as well. So, thank you very much for being here, everyone. And Gail, last word's yours.
I really invite you, if this resonates, to come play with this, because I think we're all playing on a really big stage in the world right now, where our medicine and our message truly matters.
Mhm.
And to bring that forward with love and confidence and trust in ourselves, that it's actually why we're here on the planet, is a really awesome opportunity. And it would be a privilege to support you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you again soon.